Hi everyone, my name is Eric, and on this episode we look at three very different thrillers from 1999. Will your heart sustain the suspense and excitement? Test your steely fortitude on today's Movie Bits. Have you ever seen a movie so good that you decided to start a social media channel for it? The Talented Mr. Ripley is a razor-sharp thriller directed by Anthony Minghella and set in 1950s Italy. It follows Tom Ripley, who is enlisted by the old money magnate Herbert Greenleaf to travel to Italy and ask Greenleaf's son Dickie to come back to America. Dickie has been living lavishly abroad without a care in the world with his girlfriend Marge. Tom doesn't tell Mr. Greenleaf that he has no idea who Dickie is, and what begins as Tom's simple white lie turns into a complex web of cons as Tom becomes more involved with Dickie and the other socialites he meets in Italy. The film grows from a relatively delicate tale of deception and a bit of romance to a full-blown thriller as Tom's schemes grow out of hand and even violent. The cast is so great in this, particularly Matt Damon as Tom Ripley and Philip Seymour Hoffman as Dickie's flamboyant friend, Freddie Miles. The Italian setting is gorgeous, and the cinematography captures both sun-soaked beaches and elaborate apartment hideaways. But the real treat is how electric and captivating the story is. This film is an all-time great thriller, and I'm still getting goosebumps just trying to talk about it. Small warning here that there are some spoilers for the second half of The Talented Mr. Ripley coming up. What does it mean to live a lie? Where do Tom Ripley's manipulations end? And where does his real self begin? In virtually every scene that Tom is interacting with another character, you can't trust a thing he says. But in the few scenes where he's alone, I think it's the only time you get even an inkling of the real Tom Ripley. And it's often a quiet, broken sort of guilt or shame at where his life has taken him. I think Tom's greatest masquerade is hiding his sexuality. I'm still not entirely sure where Tom is on this spectrum. Is he gay from the beginning of the film? Does he discover he's gay by spending lots of time with Dickie? Is he faking this too because he suspects Dickie is gay and can manipulate that? What about his surprise relationships later in the film? Is this another con or something real? I'm still not sure what's the truth here because Tom's life is so clouded by lies. And the audience's inability to find the truth in all of this is what makes the character study of this film as thrilling as any other part of the larger plot. In all these lies and personas, Matt Damon is giving a masterclass in playing different personalities all wrapped up into one enigmatic person. Tom is covering up lies about Dickie and Freddie, about the people he impersonates, and deep down, lies about himself. Every person Tom interacts with requires a new person to be put forth. And Damon is incredible in carrying all these subtleties across all these personas. I love it when an actor is challenged to change personalities while still staying in one character. It's not the same as playing physically different characters, which may be completely different from one another. That's cool too, but it's not much different from acting in two entirely different movies. But to try and express several, even dozens of slightly different personalities, all anchored to the core of one mysterious individual, that's something really special. And what Damon and writer-director Anthony Minghella created in this character is astounding. The Insider is a 1999 thriller directed by Michael Mann and based on a true story. Russell Crowe plays a chemist at a tobacco company who has recently been fired and with a secret to tell. Al Pacino plays a producer at 60 Minutes, ready to take on Big Tobacco, and the two team up to try and reveal the lies of the industry. But of course, the truth does not come easy, and the tobacco companies pressure Crowe's family and Pacino's employer to kill the story. It would have been easy for this film to be a slow burn drama of journalists bouncing around New York and trying to get to the bottom of an unexciting mystery. I'm not a fan of procedurals in general, especially when they're about censored papers and when the entire mystery plays out between characters on the phone. But Michael Mann is able to play up the thrilling elements of the genre by using this great edit and pacing to keep things enthralling. even for a pretty long runtime. Some top tier performances help. Pacino is fantastic as usual, but I also really enjoyed Christopher Plummer as Mike Wallace and Bruce McGill as a Mississippi attorney who gets an all-time great courtroom shouting scene. The last 30 minutes of the film gets a little messy and feels like a different, more dreamy and fantastical finale. I thought the same thing about another Michael Mann film of this era, Collateral. But I still thought the entire film was driving and engaging in a way most procedurals aren't. In The Insider, Pacino's character talks about how much pressure Crowe and his family are under. The film tells the story of pressure in two ways across its two halves. It starts with a more dramatic, Hitchcockian take on pressure, with mysterious threats and men in dark suits nearly putting Crowe into psychosis. It's the 50s paranoid thriller version of Pressure. In the second half, the story focuses on Pacino's battle with network executives and shadowy political figures trying to kill his story. This pressure isn't what you cut a hot movie trailer with, but it's perhaps more realistic and common. It's this quiet pressure that can suffocate a person in their career, and it's often stifling some sort of justice or truth. But I loved how Michael Mann shoots and edits this second half. Even though it's not as visually enticing or filled with thriller paranoia as the first half, it still feels like the same film, and the characters are going through the same crisis. They're just battling different sorts of evil along the way. Of course, my jaw dropped as the story unfolded watching it here in the present day. This story from the late 90s about CBS pressuring 60 Minutes to drop an important story because there are some capitalist gains to be had by higher-ups just made me laugh. Last year's Paramount takeover and the central role that 60 Minutes and CBS News played in that fiasco is almost identical to Michael Mann's story. And it still does today as that organization continues to change under Skydance and how that company is doing business with the Trump administration. Journalism will always be in this precarious position. And in another 20 years or so, when we have a film about the 2025 Paramount merger, and there's still more political turbulence in newsrooms, there will be that same feeling of shocked deja vu. The Insider is, unfortunately, a film that's still prescient today, and I think you'll enjoy it, even if the procedural genre isn't normally up your alley. It's Mean Girls with manslaughter, it's Clueless with violent crime, it's Heathers with homicide. Well, actually, it's really close to Heathers, just a different decade. Jawbreaker is a 1999 teen thriller comedy directed by Darren Stein. Here, 3 senior girls who are at the top of the social hierarchy kidnap their other socialite friend, Liz Purr, as a prank. Well, you could say the prank doesn't go great, as Liz is killed in the action, and the 3 pranksters scramble to cover up the death of their queen. Jawbreaker is a burst of fun with bright colors, 90s fashion, and some silly teen comedy tropes. Rose McGowan plays the Ice Queen Courtney, who benefits the most from this murder, and she begins playing her own version of socialite chess when she adopts Fern Mayo, played by Judy Greer, as a protege. The thriller elements of this film are a little lacking. There's not much cat and mouse here, and the girls are not doggedly pursued by anyone, especially the detective on the case, played by Pam Grier. She's in the film for like 5 minutes tops. But although the thriller elements are softened, there's still a lot here about high school social circles, as with any teen comedy tends to play with. I especially liked some of the surreal and dreamy cutaways that Darren Stein throws into the film to keep things stylish and intriguing visually. It reminded me of early Simpsons episodes where Bart or Homer would daydream. Even though I thought the last act of the film got a little stale and the mystery detective side of this thriller didn't blossom, I had a lot of fun with the camp and humor in this one. A word of warning that there's some kind of slimy stuff about high school girls with an aggressive sex kink with older men. I thought it was a little heavy, but it's not a big part of the film. Liz's absence creates this void in the film to fill. and the more kind-hearted characters are lost without her. Julie grows heartbroken when Liz is gone, and she has a vision of Liz appearing reborn in her pool. And in my favorite scene of the film, Fern talks about how she is enamored with the freckles on the back of Liz's neck, and where she sees innumerable star constellations in them. I don't think this is a lesbian undertone. I read this as sort of admiration and idolization. When you are enamored with someone who seems perfect, who you wish you could be, or at least be closer to. These are two young women idolizing someone who is kind and has it all together, and when they lose her, that love is scattered and lost. Julie essentially rejects a world without Liz, and she runs from Courtney, tries to find some solace with Zach, one of the few male characters in the film. It's the opposite of her old Mean Girls-esque clique. But Fern thinks she might be able to capture some of Liz's magic by joining Courtney's new brigade and trying to fill Liz's shoes. The second half of the film questions if either of them finds success in filling this Liz-shaped hole in their hearts. Some minor spoilers for the middle of Jawbreaker coming up here. The closest part to a traditional thriller that I liked here begins to develop around the halfway point of the plot. With all that Courtney gains from Liz's death, you begin to wonder if the murder was intentional rather than an accidental prank gone wrong. And things get more enticing when Fern joins the clique and adopts her new name, Violet. The school and detective think that Fern was the last person to see Liz alive, and then Fern suddenly disappears. It starts to look like Fern has been set up in this elaborate scheme by Courtney. But the film just doesn't really land the plane on that subplot. The detective is certain she finds the culprit thanks to a separate Machiavellian plan from Courtney involving an outside man that she seduces. This takes all the pressure off the main characters to stay one step ahead of the prosecution. That pressure cooker feeling around the heroes evaporates. That said, there is still this retribution and justice angle to bring down Courtney, and we switch to full-on teen revenge in the finale, which fans of the teen or high school genre will love. Every episode of Movie Bits will be having a superfan on Patreon give a movie recommendation to the community. If you'd like to share a movie thought of your own in the future, please consider joining our Patreon, link in the description below. That does it for this episode of Movie Bits. Thank you for watching. Check out these films if you haven't yet, and see you on the next one.